honey, I do not want a Western. Food is not uppermost in my thoughts at the moment.
I guess you want some
Featuring the
coffee.
music of the Pajama Game, for reasons that have to do with my dad playing show tunes in the living room when I was a little boy. Pascal Marco, a Chicago native, has written his first novel. It is called Identity Lost. It might have... Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick.
He's wearing a Chicago Public Library hat, even though he's moved to Arizona. This could have, and I guess you're hearing this a lot now, even though the book was written way before this, these sort of flash mobs that have been attacking people on the lakefront over the last few weeks. This book begins with a sort of similar sad incident, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, and it's tragic that this tale is still true 30 years later. I wrote the book.
The book is set in 75, 76?
Yeah,
the first part of it.
I took a true crime that happened in Chicago in the late 70s,
Humboldt
and I
Park,
used that
right?
as in Burnham Park,
Yeah.
and I used that as the framework for the murder in my novel. And it was about the story of a boy who witnessed the murder of an old man being attacked on a bicycle in broad daylight in the middle of July. And, surprisingly, and he came forward the next day, walked 3 miles to the Area 1 headquarters and said he saw the crime and wanted to report it, which was totally unusual and certainly is today.
And Pascal Marco, is this a story that you knew from the past, or is it something you discovered in research, or how did that become the seed for this fine novel, Identity Lost?
Well, I living in Chicago at that time, I was a young father at that point, and back in 1979.
Happy Father's Day, then.
And same to you, Rick.
Thank you.
And by the way, happy birthday to my daughter Della.
Okay,
and,
where's she?
She's back in Arizona in Scottsdale. So, I read a story, an article grabbed my attention. The headline was, "Boy is Prisoner of Crime He Saw." So I read that. It was a wonderful story written by Bill Rechnenwald and Mark Starr at that time. And
I know them both well.
And just a tragic tale of this boy who witnessed this murder.
And was brave enough to come forward. And that story just stuck with me for 30 years. Wow.
I thought someday I will write something about this. Wasn't sure how. As it turned out, I joined a writers group back in 2006.
Oh, that's a horrible mistake. What's the matter with you? What were you, drunk? Yeah, a writers group. God.
And
I've known more lives destroyed by writers groups. Just
exactly.
joking.
And it just dawned on me that maybe I could talk about and tell this story through fiction.
How interesting. What's your background? What did you do before joining this writers group? You grew up where on the south side?
Southeast side, known as the east side here. As a matter of fact, your next guest
Where,
is a
Hegwish?
former east side. No, Hegwish was south of us. That was a suburb to us.
Okay, suburb to you.
We were on the east side.
Yeah.
And Ed Verdoliak's old ward.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And so, I was always writing. I was initially here in Chicago in sales. I was in video production, doing video sales, and moved out to Arizona, started my own business there back in '94. But I was always writing, always had an urge to write. I'm a communications grad from University of Illinois here, Chicago Circle.
Wow. Circle campus.
So always had the urge and desire to write. Wanted to write movie scripts, and I think this one will make a great one.
Oh, it'd make a fabulous movie. So you join a writers group, and with the notion that, okay, now my time has come. No.
Yeah, no. I joined the writers group. I had started writing some essays because the White Sox had won the World Series back in 2005.
This is real Chicagoan, Pascal Marco, man.
I was fortunate enough to attend the fifth game of the ALCS against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in their home park. Ended up sitting in the box seats of the owner there. This was a miracle that happened. And I wrote this essay on it, and I got a lot of nice comments on it. I wanted to see if I can get it published somewhere. So I happened to, I'm going to be name dropping here. I contacted Fred Mitchell, who was a friend.
The great Fred Mitchell. He's an old friend of yours?
Fred, through my wife and his wife, former wife, ex-wife, were friends and went to school together. And I just reached out to Fred and I said, is there any place I can get this published? And he put me in touch with this White Sox Interactive website, the fan website. And that, using Fred's name got me in, and they published the article. And then they asked me to start writing pieces for the spring training.
That's a kind of empowering thing, and I got to believe it helped form the confidence to sit down and write a novel. That's a very empowering thing you may think a piece is good, you may think an essay has some substance. When someone decides to publish it, either in online form or in print, it gives you, don't you feel empowered by that?
Oh, absolutely, I did. But I knew that my writing needed some brushing up, and I came across the Scottsdale's writers group. But when I got in there, everybody seemed to be writing fiction and screenplays and novels, and so I said, I wonder if I could write a novel. I wonder if I could learn the skills of writing a novel. And 2 years later, presenting a chapter every other week for 2 years, I came out with this first draft of the book, and it just took off from there. There was a lot more work to it than that, but
that's
I'm
one of the
simplifying
things, Pascal Marco, that I admire tremendous. Everybody, you go in any bookstore, if there are still bookstores, but you know how many books are published every year, and people think, oh, I've got a story. I can tell the story of my childhood that people would like that. It's really easy. Look at all these people who write books. It is not an easy thing, is it?
No, it's very difficult to have fiction published, especially.
Yeah,
and,
but it's difficult to write it, too. I mean,
it is.
You say, and especially for you only having written essays before, this is a major undertaking.
It was a major undertaking. I maybe diminish it a little bit myself, but because it's over now. But during the process, I was learning every day, and still am learning. I go back and read the book now, and I see parts where I could have made them better. But I always had the intention that I would get it published, and so my mentor in that group, a lady by the name of Deb Ledford, who's a published author in her own right, she said to me, you only need one person to love your story. You only need to find one agent, one publisher, and fortunately that happened for me.
When was it published?
It was published June 14th this year, 2011, so it's hot out there on the bookshelves.
What was it like for you? I'm trying to think back to my first, but what was it like to you to walk into a book? What was it like when you got the copy sent to you?
It was surreal.
What's called a galley unbound. I'm looking at the hardcover, which is quite spectacular. Same cover, but it jumps a little more off the hardcover.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when that arrived and you picked it up for the first time?
Really indescribable. With my brother-in-law Mike and my wife Karen, we talked about writing a lot and what it would be like to have our books on the shelves. And we're great literary fans, and so it was just like, well, someday my book will be on the shelf someday. And we had a lot of fun with it. I don't know if we ever believed it would happen, but I guess there was some intention there. We did believe it would happen.
Well, you worked at it, yeah.
And so I have to tell you, seeing your book on bookshelves in a Barnes and Noble or a Changing Hands bookstore, a Poison Pen, one of the great bookstores, it's just phenomenal.
Better than the Sox winning the World Series? I mean, how do you rate?
I don't know. No, the Sox winning the World Series for me was it might have been better than my own
spoken
novel
like spoken like a true South Sider. Pascal Marco is going to be all over the place in the next few days. You can go to his website. That's PascalMarco.com. He's going to be at the Bronzeville Coffee and Tea Shop, one of my favorite places in the world. Say hi to the owners for me.
Okay,
it's a great, great place. Then at Chicago Public Library, Centuries and Sleuths, Smith Village, Barnes and Noble at DePaul, St. Francis de Sales High School, some place called the Trio Bar in Palos Heights. What's the story behind that?
Well,
I've been to all these other places.
Yeah.
I've never spoken at the Trio Bar.
I'll tell you the story behind that. One of the reasons I was able to write this novel was because because of the White Sox, I befriended a guy by the name of Andy Abbott in Scottsdale during the 2005 race for the pennant for the White Sox. As it turns out, we ended up having dinner with him one night, and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was writing a book. He told me he was a former cop, and he said, "Boy, if you ever need help with anything, you just let me know." And he just told me, though, the only thing, though, if you want my help, you got to just keep it real. Just keep it real. That's all I ask. And so he was a great, great resource for me. And Andy is the one who's putting together the event at Trio Bar. We're going to provide some of the proceeds from the sale of the book for the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation.
You're an amazing fellow, not just a good novelist. You make all these connections out there.
Well, I've been in sales for a long time, so
that helps.
Off.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was talking to Ann Patchett, who's a very successful novelist, earlier, and she hates going out and meeting people. She likes to meet the people, but she hates the book tour. You, Marco, it seems, were born for a book tour.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the way you feel?
I love it. I'm not afraid to meet people. I love meeting people, and, I love talking with them.
You're a charming guy. We'll take a little commercial break and then get into some specifics. And from the novel, it begins with a murder in Chicago and carries on for decades after that. Identity, Lost, the name of the novel. We'll be right back. Pascal Marco's first novel, and I have to assume this will be the first of many, is called Identity Lost. It begins with a murder, lots of courtroom activity. Our mutual friend Brad Thor says of the book, Brad Thor, a #1 New York Times best-selling author and Chicagoan, Pascal Marco's electrifying debut puts him firmly in the hunt to succeed John Grisham. Fresh, compelling, and incredibly intricate, Identity Lost is Exhibit A on the docket of this year's hottest legal thrillers. That's some jacket quote, my friend.
Yeah, it's putting a lot of pressure on me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but pleasant pressure. The next
yes.
John Grisham, what author would say no?
Oh, yeah.
How do you know Brad?
Well, back in 2008, had just finished the first draft of the manuscript, and I thought I had it complete. And I was in a little library up in Fontana, Wisconsin. I saw a sign that said, "Meet New York Times best-selling author Brad Thor, who's going to be signing books at Gordy's Lakefront, Gordy's Boathouse in Fontana." So I said, well, I've got to meet this guy. I didn't know who he was. I had never read any of his books, but I thought if he's a New York Times best-selling author, I had to go see him. So I went down to meet him, and
what were you doing in Fontana?
Well, we vacationed there. Unfortunately, that's a whole longer story.
Okay.
We went in, met with Brad. Great guy,
nice kid.
Very cordial and very gracious to me. And he asked me, what I did. And I told him, I had written a book. And he says, really? And he says, well, if I had written a book, I need to attend Thriller Fest, which was an event that was a couple of weeks away. And he told me that if I came there, look him up. And that if I got the book published, he definitely would read it. And so I went to Thriller Fest and found a publisher there. I'm shortening the story.
Yeah.
And once I got it published, I contacted Brad, and he was a man of his word, and he read the book, and thankfully he loved it.
Oh, he loved it, yeah. Pascal Marco's electrifying debut puts him firmly in the hunt to succeed John Grisham.
That's a lot of pressure.
Nothing wrong with that. So there is a murder in Chicago. A kid comes forth to testify for. I don't want to spoil any of the story. The guys get off. The kid is put in witness protection, goes away, grows up, and 25, 30 years later, the past comes back to grab him.
Yeah, and I think every time I told people, I pitched them the story, even while I was writing it, they thought, wow, that's a great story. That's a great story. And so I knew I was on to something. And because I was using, a true crime as the framework for the murder in my story, I knew that it was real. I knew that there was so much reality in it. I just needed to find a way to turn that reality into fiction, into a genre that would work. And so I came up with some unique characters.
Oh yeah,
and
no doubt.
I think they're unique, and I've added some characters, and so it's really
well, it's a good feel
really
for
fun.
And the great thing about it, there's a very good feel for the two places you know very well. Chicago and Arizona. I mean, you were not loath to bring that element and your own knowledge of it into your work, and I think that's it's like write about what you know. Right
about what you know, and as Brad says, write about what you love.
Yeah.
He says that many times in the talks that I've heard him give, and I love both places, and sometimes I wonder which one I love the most. But as working in sales in Arizona, I would come across people who would be there one day and they were gone the next.
Yeah.
I affectionately referred to those people as MIA, missing in Arizona. And so people say maybe they're in witness protection because it was a place and is a place where the
sure,
feds
if you had a choice, I mean, you're not going to move to, Saskatchewan. Do you like, I've got to assume, given the number of events you've been doing. You just finished earlier this week a couple in California, one in Arizona, and you've got a ton coming up. You have one today. What time today?
10 a.m. at the Bronzeville Coffee Tea. We're just going to be greeting people there, and much of the novel, as you know, takes place in Bronzeville area.
Sure. Then at the Chicago Public Library, then Centuries and Sleuths. You ever been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
been
you'll
there,
love it. You'll love it. It's a great store.
Yeah.
Then Barnes & Noble, St. Francis de Sales High School, and the fabulous Trio Bar in Palos Heights, a place I will have to go. I've got to assume, given your personality, that this part of the, and it's an inevitable thing these days, of marketing the book yourself and going out and doing it is something you really enjoy.
Well, I enjoy it. I mean, I've been selling, for the last 20 years, and I've been selling products for somebody else, and so it's really great to sell yourself, sell your own product. Sure. And so finally I've, been able to take all those skills and now really focus them on me. So
well, before I let you drive down to, where is that, on 43rd Street? I can't remember. Yeah, 43rd Street. Wonderful place. And say hello to the two owners. They're great guys.
Right. Uh-huh.
You working on another one?
I am. I've got a couple of books that I'm working on. And,
of course you do.
And so one of them I hope is going to be a continuation of this story somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
I've also
you got a great character there. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I've also been penning, some ideas about, a Frederick Douglass type book, maybe an alternative historical fiction type book with Frederick Douglass's travels here in Illinois and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you have every right to be very proud. It is an amazing accomplishment to finish a novel. It's even more so to finish a novel that is as good as Identity Lost. It's can't miss the cover. It's the police tape and the skyline of the city of Chicago. Congratulations, Pascal.
Designed, by the way, the idea for that cover, my 11-year-old grandson.
Really?
He came up, absolutely true story. Yeah, we sat around a table and I discussed what it would be.
The Mozart of book design.
There he is.
11
Yeah,
years
Jordan.
Old. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else you want to say hello to? This is your big chance.
Oh yeah, my godson Michael. It's his birthday today. Being an Italian and having a godson, you got to shout that out to him. So that's important. And my mom. My mom's going to be coming up on 90. Sorry, Mom. I mentioned it to everybody, but. She's,
my mother, when she was 80, used to tell people she was 90.
Yeah, so.
Pascal Marco, you can go to PascalMarco.com to get the list of all the places he's going to be in Chicago. You're a charming guy, and you're a good writer, and good luck with the book.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir. I love that. We'll be right back.